Hello, my beautiful friends. I am Laurel Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. If we're meeting for the first time, I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And I offer one-on-one angel sessions, a longer form of mentoring called soul mentoring, and a wide variety of classes to inspire your spirit. I usually have a new class starting every 6 weeks or so, and it's always changing, so I invite you to go to my website, illuminatingSouls.com, where you can sign up for my mailing list. I actually have 2 different lists at the top of the page. You can sign up for my general mailing list and you'll get all the announcements. And then further down is the daily inspiration email blast. And if you register for that one, you'll get all the announcements plus an inspiring email from me every weekday. And I also should add that the classes all take place over Zoom and one-on-one sessions take place over the phone. So it makes it easy to connect. So wherever you are in the world, I send you blessings. And I am grateful for this opportunity to love and support you. So this podcast is a mashup of 2 of my favorite forms of self-care, connecting with the angels, and then also listening to a sleep podcast, which I do every night as I am drifting off to sleep. Sleep podcasts are such a cool genre. I started listening back in 2015, and Drew Ackerman with Sleep With Me podcast is the original podcast I started listening to. And I loved his episodes. And I've been listening to him for years. And he's so creative. When he started out, he was doing 3 one-hour episodes a week, which is a tremendous amount of content. I don't know how he did it. And what's so interesting is now it's all I can do to record 1 or 2 podcast episodes a week. When I started off, I was going to do 2 episodes a week, which I did for a couple of years, but lately it's like my creative flow's a little different and it's become a little more challenging to bring myself to the microphone. I love these episodes and I'm planning on continuing the podcast, so please bear with me if my posting's a little irregular right now. My creative energies are in other places and I love recording this for you, and I love listening to it. Just so you know, I listen to this podcast to help me fall asleep too, because there's beautiful angel energy, and there's so many episodes I've recorded that I don't remember them all, so I can easily listen to some of the archived shows, and it feels like I'm listening for the first time. So I hope that this podcast brings you a sense of love and comfort, that there's a gentle presence here to keep you company, whether you're going about your day or drifting off to sleep. So as I record this, it is early Sunday morning, and I really thought this would be a quiet time of day because it usually is, but I'm only about 4 minutes into recording, and so far we've had sirens, and now there's a big plane going overhead. And so I'm hoping that's it for the ambient noise. So angels, please, a cone of silence here. Gentle silence so that we can move through this episode with grace. So the sun is just coming up. It's such a beautiful time of day. And I'm still in that place in between, in between sleep and wake. I love this time of day, and it reminds me of that beautiful time at the end of the day too, when I can declare the day complete and begin to drift off. As I've mentioned before, I love bedtime. I love crawling into bed at the end of the day and curling up. I sleep with tons of pillows and blankets, and most times I go to bed before my husband. He stays up a little bit later than I do. And so I just kind of go into my little cocoon and drift off to sleep. So I send you a cocoon of love. I send you a magical blanket fort. I send you goodness and light. And I'm so grateful to get to share this moment with you. So I invite you to get comfortable in whatever way works best for you. And if you are preparing for bed, I invite you to cozy on up and snuggle on in and allow the light of this moment to meet you where you are. So I feel the angels with us already, and I want to share their love and their presence with you. So let's take in some nice deep breaths together and just releasing whatever came before this moment. As I ask the angels to join us, even though they're already here, I love sharing the ritual with you. So beautiful angels on high, I invite you to join us here, and I am so grateful for your presence. I ask that you infuse this broadcast with waves of love and goodness and healing and joy. I ask that you send blessings to everyone who is listening to this message whenever it is they hear it. Because I know that you are always with each one of us. And that as we hear these words, it creates an amplified energy field that makes it easier for us to welcome in the love of the angels. So dear ones, just take some nice deep breaths in, and if you have prayers in your heart that you wish to share with the angels, I invite you to bring them into your heart and consciousness now, as the angels receive your prayers and intentions with love. In a little while, after I finish recording this, I'm going to be meeting with my friend Andrea Scher, and we're preparing for a class that we are co-facilitating Tuesday morning called Radiant Mornings, and our theme for the coming week is miracles. And so I've been contemplating miracles over the past day or so, and what a lovely invitation to contemplate. You know, I grew up watching the 10 Commandments every year. You know, the Charlton Heston, Cecil B. DeMille, Ann Baxter, Yul Brynner movie. And so I thought miracles were the burning bush, right? I thought miracles were the genie in the bottle. I also grew up with I Dream of Jeannie. So I always thought miracles were grand and beyond human capability. But now that I have lived a lot of life and been on this spiritual journey for quite a long time, I realize that life is filled with miracles all the time. That miracles don't have to be some incomprehensible. They don't have to be these massively magical moments. I've shared with you before that every year my husband grows vegetables in our backyard, and he loves growing them, and I love consuming them, so it's a good fit. And so we have a bounty of tomatoes that are ripe right now in our backyard. That's one of the things we're going to do today, is pick our tomatoes. And the magical thing is, next week there will be just as many tomatoes ready to be picked. And to me, that's a miracle. I know it's science. I know it's biology. I know we understand how that works. But next time you're with a tomato, when you're eating it or looking at it, look at one tomato seed, a single tomato seed. Look how tiny it is. And that is all you need, if it is properly nurtured, to grow a huge tomato plant that will be overflowing with tomatoes. How is that not a miracle? This year we had volunteer tomato plants all around our backyard. They're blooming where they are planted. And I think that's a miracle, because if I can connect with the wondrousness of a tomato seed, it reminds me that that divine intelligence also created you and created me. So the wonder of the tomato seed exists in us as well. I think that's a miracle. So as I contemplate miracles, I think it's a miracle we live in this time and space where I can be sitting here in my home with indoor plumbing. I just took a hot shower and I've plugged in this microphone into this computer and it's capturing my voice. And then I will upload this recording to this thing called the internet, where you will be able to listen even years later. How is that not a miracle? Would have been a miracle 200 years ago, right? Time traveling back 200 years and showing somebody your iPhone be a miracle. So I like to think of miracles as daily companions, because it helps me open to the wonder of the world and the wonder of this life. That we are even here right now is a miracle. You are a miracle. And so this is what I am contemplating this morning, the magic of a tomato seed. Knowing that we are going into our backyard today and picking so many delicious tomatoes. I wish I could share them with you because they are so delicious. And then my husband and I are going to hang out on our power recliner couch that I've shared with you about. That is unattractive, but oh so comfortable. And we are in the midst of watching Newsroom by Aaron Sorkin on HBO, which we've already seen several times, but we felt like watching again. So that the internet even exists. And we can choose a TV program. Miracle, miracle. Totally would have been a miracle to childhood me, who could only watch something when it was broadcasting live. I could not choose to program my own viewing. I could only watch what was available, the Dark Ages. So here we are, living in a time of miracles. So take a breath in, allowing the light of God and the light of the angels to meet you where you are. That this moment is filled with blessings for you and goodness and light. And I'm so deeply grateful for the gift of you. So just allow yourself to receive this love, to breathe, allowing this love to flow to every cell of your body, every thought in your mind, and every emotion in your heart. And breathe. And allow the light to meet you where you are. And so, my beautiful friend, let's move on into story time. So for this story time, I am returning to the pages of Country Life in America. This is an issue from November 1901. And the reason I'm recording this is because these are some of my favorite episodes to go to sleep to. They're interesting, yet it's easy to fall asleep to them because they're kind of rambly and they keep me good company. So I'm hoping they're going to keep you good company too. So let's start off with some country homes for sale. So if we invented a time machine and we could time travel back to 1901, this is what we could purchase. So there is a valuable and attractive estate near Manatee, Florida, of special interest to lovers of natural scenery. 550 acres in delightful climate of South Florida. 400 acres choice land for orange culture, sugarcane, tobacco, vegetables, pineapples, etc. 45 acres orange groves, trees large, thrifty. I don't know what a thrifty tree is like, but love that. Of full bearing age. The orange crop of 1899 netted $10,500. Orange crop of 1900 netted $9,800. To a lover of the beautiful and picturesque in nature, it would be difficult to find a more charming spot. Miles of drives, water glimpses on 2 tidewater creeks, parks of palms, cedars, and beautiful oaks. Extremely fascinating. A modern residence costing $10,000. Excellent condition. 550 acres. That's huge. Okay, and here's a home. So the home is called, I'm going to try and pronounce this, Naulahki. It's spelled Naulahki. American County seat at Brattleboro, Vermont, for sale. This beautiful place, including 11 acres of land, is situated at Brattleboro, Vermont, 3 hours from Boston. It is complete and modern in every way. The house was built just 6 years ago, and it will be sold just as it was left by the owner, Rudyard Kipling, Esquire. Is that the author? Kipling? Must be. It is an ideal summer home. Fantastic. Sansara Hall, the beautiful St. Augustine estate upon which Baron de Barra expended much money. The price is $4,500, $1,000 cash. And let me just tell you, from the picture I can see, this is a ginormous house. Here's another one. This is huge. Irwin Park includes attractive land, about 70 res. I don't know what that means. RES period. Situated in the center of town of Montclair, New Jersey. Montclair is 14 miles, 40 minutes from New York, and is connected with it by 2 railroads. About 10 acres have already been fully developed, with macadamized drives, like macadamia nut, macadamized. I don't know, never heard that word before. See, look at, we're in a sleep podcast and we're learning. Perfect drainage. We're not really learning because I'm not going to look that word up, but it's a new word. The best system of sewage, very important. Gas, water, and electric light throughout, and a number of attractive homes have already been built. Oh, so this is a development, I understand. An excellent golf course has been laid out on another portion of the 70 acres for the use of the residents in the park. Well, okay, that's less exciting now that I know that it's a development. There's also an ad for some sort of pamphlet or something, The Abandoned Farm Found. And I'm going to read to you an article about abandoned farms that is in this issue. Then there is an ad for Vicks seeds. And that you'd think would be boring, but this is what's interesting. There's a picture of a bill of sale, and it looks like it's from 1806, and it says, "The above is a facsimile of a bill of bulbs bought by a certain worthy Mr. Abraham Voorhees from Grant Thorburton, the founder of our house in the year of 1806. The gentleman who paid 3 shillings and 6 for one hyacinth bulb must have had a refined appreciation of that beautiful flower. The best named hyacinths today are great improvements over those over a century ago, and yet they can be bought for $1 a dozen. Tulips, daffodils, and all other bulbs are correspondingly cheaper than in the days of our grandfathers. Yet we regret to find that the demand for them has not increased in proportion. So they're trying to get us to buy bulbs. So let's dive into this article that is called The Abandoned Farms, the shifting of the rural population of New England, the status of the abandoned farm properties, the causes, and the promise. Along the valleys and on the fertile flatlands the early inhabitants settle. The first development follows the coasts and rivers. As land becomes scarce and consequently more valuable, the hills and mountainsides are subdued. The remoter parts become inhabited. In the course of time, economic conditions change. The centers of activity removed. New industries develop. New lands are opened. Population shifts. The poorest and remotest places suffer most. Difficult and profitless lands are abandoned. In every country of mountain and valleys, there is bound to be an unequal distribution of the rural population. Farmers are driven from the hills sooner than from the valleys. I have seen abandoned farmsteads on the mountains of California and on rocky hillsides far and near. But it is with New England that one associates the typical abandoned farm. The eager discussion of the subject in recent years has concerned itself most wholly within this region. It is in New England that the abandoned farms have become so common as to raise a distinct public question as to causes and remedies therefor. State boards of agriculture have interested themselves in the sale of the lands. The reasons for their prevalence there are 3. The hill lands are relatively a large part of the total area of the state. The country was settled before the great fertile regions of the West were accessible. The era of rapid transportation came. Manufacturers developed. The West was opened as a promised land, and the population of rural New England sought more attractive fields of employment. Viewed as an economic question, the abandonment of New England farms should not disturb us more than other shifting population. In the present day, most of the lands that are now abandoned would not have once where mowings and plowings are now wild and free stretches of woodland. Dilapidated stone walls ramble throughout the woods and are heaved by the roots of great trees. Here and there is the ruin of a foundation, with trees growing inside and the tiger lily still persisting at the border. Now and then only a clump of tansy marks a spot where people lived. Roads that once were clean from wall to wall are now narrowed to mere wagon trails, where strawberries ripen in June and goldenrods bloom in September. There are abandoned roads, silent avenues of a rural life that has sunken into the past. There are schoolhouses on these that would have been settled. They would remain in timber, and now, by the power of economic forces, they are returning into the forest. The first flush of the settlement of the West has passed. Manufacturing industries have attained stable conditions. People are looking again to the country. The better farms again are being farmed. On the hills of the western Massachusetts, I found a cowpuncher from Oklahoma settling on an abandoned farm to make his living by farming. Farmers are buying up adjacent lands and extending their businesses near the railroads. City people are buying and building cottages and retreats on the sites of old farms. old highways where wild growth is stealing into playgrounds. Our regret for the abandonment of these farms is largely sentimental. We are thinking of the human lives that have been lived in the stark old houses where the winds blow through the creaky roofs and into the openings that were once windows and doors. We are impressed by the ancient orchards with bleached limbs and rotting trunks. Generations ago, perhaps the good man and his wife hewed the farm from the wilderness, erected the laborious buildings, and planted the cider apple trees between the rocks. A little brood was reared. One by one, the children went out over the hills and made homes for themselves. But one of them remained on the old farm, cherishing the old rocks and living content under the old roof tree. The old place became more hallowed with the years. Even the decay of the old house passed unnoticed. What was neglect and dilapidation to the visitor from the city was the object of veneration and sweet memories to the owner. But finally no youngster clung to the homestead. One went to the city store, another on the railroad, another took to sea, and another went west. Age overtook the old folks. The bushes encroached on the back lot, the stone walls went to ruin. The kitchen roof tilted and fell in, and the old folks passed away. The house was closed. The stripling forest has now overrun the orchard and the garden. Swallows are nesting in the broken chimneys. 10 years ago, the abandoned farms were a subject of much solicitude. But now people are beginning to understand that the subject is really not an agricultural question, but an economic one. Not only farms, but mills and shops have been abandoned. But the energy and the capital that they represented have been absorbed in larger and more efficient enterprises. Farming is not declining in New England just because of many of the hill farms have been abandoned. In fact, there's a distinct rejuvenescence of farming in the better lands of New England, as there are in all parts of the East. And just as an aside, you know what is so interesting about this is I would imagine now, 120 years later, that these properties have been developed, that somebody has a beautiful home there. You know, the urban sprawl is so great. But back then, land was relatively easy to get, whereas now it is a much tighter commodity. There is abundant opportunity for the man of enterprise and intelligence, but here as elsewhere there is little promise for the man who lacks these qualities. The man on the rich lands of the prairies or on the Pacific coast who has a feeling of commiseration for the farmer of New England is nursing only a pleasant egoism. The New Englander will take care of himself. One never sees better farms than he finds in many parts of New England. On these better farms the land is well tilled. The fields are as soft and mature as those of England. They are clean and frugal. There is no trace of the weedy carelessness of the West. The buildings are tight, and the thick sward grows to their foundations. The home is compact and smug. A smug home. I don't know if that had the same meaning in 1901 as it does now. All these abandoned farms are owned by somebody. Technically, an abandoned farm is one that no longer is used for accustomed farm purposes, but some of them are abandoned only as to buildings. The land itself has become part of a neighboring stock farm. Vacant buildings are often mistaken for abandoned farms. Deserted homesteads with sagging buildings and close pressed by forest growth may mean only that the former occupants have passed away or they have moved away for other employment. The farm itself may still be tilled and mowed as of old. Some of the abandoned or unremunerative properties are owned or rented by parties who use them for the temporary pasturing of stock that is brought in other parts and driven into these regions for the summer. Some are owned by persons who deal in timber. Others belong to parties who have inherited them from mortgages and who would be glad to be rid of them. I asked how much this abandoned hill land is worth. With much deliberation, the man replied, "If you don't want it pretty bad, you'd better be a little careful how much you offer for it." From $2 to $5 an acre is a frequent price for the remoter lands in some parts of New England. Great areas of these lands would better remain in forest. Many of these abandoned farms, however, are still capable of yielding a good living with no great expense of clearing, fertilizing, and rebuilding. Most of the old houses were strongly built and are easily repaired. Okay, can we just go back to $2 to $5 an acre? Like to time travel back? We could have a whole farm. We could have a whole compound in New England. But of course, we wouldn't have that kind of money back then. And back then we wouldn't want to live in New England because if we're living in rural New England, we don't have access to a whole lot. My husband has this fantasy that at some point we will live on acres of land. He doesn't want to be able to see his neighbors, which I can appreciate. But I have a rule that I must live within 20 miles of a Trader Joe's. So I don't know where rural living and Trader Joe's intersect, and also without a freezing cold winter or lots of humidity. So I don't know that our perfect, beautiful place exists, but who knows? So this is all about the farms of New England. Fascinating, isn't it? How much life has changed. Okay, this article keeps going. I will not read the whole thing to you. Okay, so now we're going to skip on over to the April 1902 issue and look at some of the massive homes for sale. So we're going to include the abandoned farms as well as the beautifully established homes. Now this is very Tony'd. This is for very wealthy people. In all likelihood, these neighborhoods are exclusive, which would mean I would likely not be welcome there. But we're going to pretend we can time travel. And these will be inclusive communities, and we'll be able to take our 2024 money back to 1902 and create a beautiful compound for all of those that we love and we would like to spend time with. So let's start off with this incredible mansion in Seneca Falls, New York. In the Lake region of central New York, in a thriving village containing many beautiful residences, a handsome modern house suitable for a large family. I would say not only a large family, it goes on to say a boarding school, so perhaps that will give you an idea of how big it is. So suitable for a large family or a boarding school or a private sanitarium. That's how big it is. The house is brick, 3 bedrooms, electric lights, gas, steam heat, electric bells. I wonder if those bells are for the servants, for the help. Yes, like in Downton Abbey when Lady Mary can ring her bell for support. So, or maybe it's a doorbell, but I think more it's for the help. House is finished in mahogany, cherry oak, black walnut, butternut, and 2 rooms in California redwood. It is beautifully situated on a terrace, front lawn 60 feet deep, terrace is 6 feet high, second lawn is 270 feet, width of place is 115 feet. Magnificent trees, house is cool, screens for all windows and doors, drawing room, reception room, library, dining room, breakfast room, because you must have a breakfast room in these homes, kitchen, laundry, storerooms, and 14 bedrooms. Wow, it's a lot of bedrooms. Halls are large. 1 suite of rooms, parlor, bedroom and bath, and 2 bedrooms with dressing rooms, 4 elegant and expensive wood mantels, tile all well selected. No expense was spared in building this house. A great bargain. Price is $12,500. So that's why if we could take our 2024 money and go back there, we could build a lovely retreat house. Yes? How cool would that be? Seneca Falls, New York. Okay, here's another one. On Cuyahoga Lake, New York, a handsome summer residence and 38 acres at Aurora on Cuyahoga, I think I'm saying that right, Lake. It's 22 miles from Ithaca and 20 miles from Auburn. Easily accessible by lake or railway. The improvements consist of a large stone mansion in good order, with large rooms and high ceilings, gardener's house, barn, gas house, ice house, water reservoir, etc., etc. So not just one etc., two of them. Land is nearly all tillable and suitable for all kinds of fruit, general garden products. It has fine and extensive views of Cuyahoga Lake and surrounding country. No exchanges considered. The price is $17,500. Next, this one is near Bound Brook, New Jersey. I don't know where that is. But it's 82 acres. That's Wes's dream come true. 82 acres. He always says he does not want to see his neighbors. And I say that's all well and good, but we must live 20 minutes from a Trader Joe's. So, marriage is all about compromise. So this one is 82 acres. And if it's 1902, Trader Joe's sadly does not yet exist. So there would be that to contend with. So with large modern residence of superior construction, high ceilings, closets in every room, laundry and bath, cellars paved with stone. Cellars paved with stone, like that I would imagine would be a great place for, like as kids, to have a clubhouse, right? And your parents would say things like, don't play down in the cellar. And as kids, that would just be a magnet. Like imagine how much fun you could have playing in a cellar. Okay, but that was just my childhood. We loved clubhouses and going in places we weren't supposed to go. So the cellars are paved with stone, large cisterns and fine well water. Wes will also tell you it is always important to have good well water in case, the public utilities go out. Fruit and shade trees in abundance on lawn, which consists of about 12 acres. The house is situated on high ground on a public road, which is also a trolley line, overlooking the Raritan River, and it is only 10 minutes from the station and only 65 minutes from Liberty Street, New York City, to the property. There's also a tenant house together with large barns and outbuildings. The land is undulating of loamy soil. That's great. Undulating of loamy soil, free from stones and well drained. The advantages of situation and the healthfulness of the climate make this property a most desirable one. So this is $15,000. I hope you're enjoying these. I love reading these. Like a lot of these homes don't exist anymore. They were torn down and these areas were developed into suburban homes. So here's another mansion, Peconic Bay, Long Island. A magnificent peninsula of land containing about 500 acres. Okay, Wes would be happy. 500 acres running into Little Peconic Bay, known as Nassau or Peconic Point, about 6 miles west of Shelter Island. Fine oak forests cover 2/3 of the land. Average elevation above tidewater 60 feet. About 4 miles of waterfront. Large slate roof mansion, 15 rooms, 2 dwellings, 11 rooms each, gardener's or coachman's cottage, 3 barns, amusement hall. I wonder if that would be equivalent to like a man cave these days, an amusement hall. Because who doesn't want an amusement hall in your home? Conservatories, etc. Again with an etc. Suitable for gentleman's estate, club, sanitarium, or for development as a summer resort. About 115 acres on the point can be made into one of the finest golf courses in America. The entire property abounds with beautiful building sites. Present buildings on this property could not be replaced for $50,000. Certainly a great bargain. Price at $75,000. Wow, that's a lot of money even back then. $25,000 cash, balance on bond, and mortgage of 4.5%. That's a good interest rate these days if you can get a mortgage at 4.5%. We're now moving to Westchester County. I know that because I lived there for a year of my life. This is Irvington-on-Hudson, a plot of ground containing, all right, I'm not quite sure how to read this, so I'm going to struggle through it. It's a plot of ground containing 3 1 to 10 acres. So I don't know if that's 31 acres. I'm not sure what that means. It says 3, then space, 1-10. On the west side of Broadway, running through to Sunnyside Road, with frontage of 207.5 feet on Broadway and 257.5 feet on Sunnyside Road. The buildings consist of 2-story and mansard roof, brick dwelling with basement, well built and in good condition. The house contains 14 rooms. Broad piazzas surround the house. Property has fine views of the Hudson River, frame barn and hennery on rear of lot. Numerous large shade trees and fine shrubbery add to the attractiveness of this ideal summer residence, and the price is $25,000. A little aside, when I lived in Westchester County, I lived in Tarrytown, which is just up the road from Irvington, and I had a view of the Hudson River and the Tappan Zee Bridge. And in Westchester County used to be where people who lived in New York and had a lot of money, they would have summer homes in Westchester County because it was cooler there because of the Hudson River and there being less people. All right, and this is land for sale. So valuable island, not only land, it's an island for sale. I have no desire to own an island, just in case you were wondering. This is situated in Long Island Sound in Greenwich Township, Connecticut, just south of Bellhaven and only a short distance from the mainland of Portchester, New York. The island consists of 10 acres of upland with an abundance of spring water, fruit, and shade trees, and an unsurpassed bathing beach over 800 feet long. Over an acre on the mainland will be sold with the island, giving ample space for a stable and landing facilities. Electric lights and the Greenwich water supply can be placed on the island at a very small expense. All right, here we have more acreage on Indian Lake, New York. 200 acres, 60 acres cleared and balanced, beautiful forest, nearly 1 mile of frontage on this magnificent mountain lake. Over 500 feet of elevation, fine scenery, good fishing and hunting, grand place for a gentleman's summer camp near Garrison, New York. And this is the kind of place where summer camps would later be built, I'm quite certain. There's also a place in Poughkeepsie, New York, 48 acres, 1 mile from Poughkeepsie. A mansion of 30 rooms, 15 bedrooms and numerous baths, farm buildings and stables. It is $20,000. Here's another beautiful mansion on Seneca Lake, a gentleman's country seat at Geneva, New York. 20 minutes drive from station, situated on the bank of Seneca Lake, surrounded by 7 acres of lawn, and commands a magnificent view of 40 miles of picturesque country. Large modern house of 20 rooms, including 6 master's bedrooms, servants' rooms, baths, drawing rooms, dining room, library, billiard room, butler's pantry, large kitchen, laundry, etc. Spacious piazzas, steam heat, and gas plant. Okay, just so you know, every time I see piazzas, I think it says pizzas. And I have no idea what pizzas have to do with a mansion. And in that same instance, I remember it saying piazzas. So probably because I've seen the word pizzas many more times in my life than I have piazzas. So if I happen to say piazza or pizza by mistake, you'll know why. Okay, the property contains about 14 acres, has large carriage house and stable, ice house and boathouse, outbuildings, etc. Magnificent old shade trees and drives, large garden and fruit trees. And now, here is one, Tarrytown on Hudson. Did I not just say I used to live there? Not, of course, in this house or in this time when Tarrytown was full of these grand old houses. A magnificent country seat of 50 acres, 25 miles from New York, with every requisite to make it an ideal summer residence. Large stone house in perfect order, 7 master's bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, modern plumbing, independent water supply, stone stable, 10 stalls, large greenhouse, fruit orchards, flower and vegetable gardens. Tarrytown is beautiful, just so you know. Gorgeous. Although I was not happy living there, but it's not because Tarrytown wasn't lovely. I just was homesick for Los Angeles at the time. Okay, I hope you're enjoying these as much as I am. Because there's another one. I don't know how many are after this. I haven't read ahead. Orange, New Jersey. And this one takes up the whole page. So lots of pictures. Gentleman's country home. The residence of the late Oliver S. Carter, Esquire. If I had more energy, I could probably go look him up, but I will not. Most beautifully situated place in the vicinity of New York City. On plateau of the Orange Mountain, very accessible over macadamized electric lighted avenues. Now, I have to tell you, I went and looked up what macadamized means. It has nothing to do with macadamia nuts, which I knew it didn't, but it sounded like macadamia nuts, so I was very confused. Macadam, if I might not be saying that right, is when you pave a road. So when they say a macadamized electric lighted avenue, it means the road has been paved in some way. So not only do I bore you to sleep, but I give you a little education, because I'm getting a little education here, because I didn't know what that word meant. Okay, so there's a paved road that's lit. Good news. Because it's probably very dark there. That's the thing that I knew about Tarrytown. It got very dark there at night. Okay. Convenient to 2 railroad stations, and opposite the Essex County Country Club and golf links. The residence is of brown cut stone, ample, and with all modern improvements, as are the lodge and stables. The grounds, containing 26 acres, are in sloping lawns of unsurpassed beauty and laid out in walks and driveways. You know what's interesting is the last few of these have not included prices. But wait, there's more. Hold on. Let me get to them. All right. I guess April of 1902 was a great time if you were buying a huge estate. So this one is an ideal country home in Bergen County, New Jersey. 52 acres. In high state of cultivation, convenient to 3 railroads. Time to New York, 45 minutes. A fine house with 15 rooms and 3 baths, running water, electric lights, and hot water heating. Modern stables containing 5 ordinary and 2 box stalls, cow stable, and cellar. 2 ponds, because you want a good pond, right? Stocked. It's already stocked. Ice house. Filled. Coachman and gardener's cottage and tenant house, now rented, on premises, and altogether one of the most complete and elegant country homes in the vicinity of New York. No price. Another home in New Jersey, Short Hills, New Jersey, a large stone mansion situated in a beautiful park laid out by a landscape gardener. Minutes walk from the station and 45 minutes from New York. So again, another gorgeous mansion. If perhaps your dream is to have a hotel in Hemet, California, which I don't know that I would want to live in Hemet, but not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's not like it's a hotel in San Diego where I would want to live. It's an ideal resort, elegant rooms, electric lights, cuisine unexcelled. Oh, because it's a hotel. They already have a restaurant, I suppose. Cuisine unexcelled. Climate unsurpassed. Elevation is 1,000 feet. Golf links. Croquet grounds, because everybody wants to play croquet back then, and other amusements. Fine scenery and beautiful drives within easy reach of Strawberry Valley and other famous resorts. Accommodations the year round at moderate prices. Oh, I see. They're not selling the hotel. They want you to come to the hotel, which makes the whole conversation about cuisine much more meaningful. Then there's a farm for sale in Dobbs Ferry, New York. So, again, off the Hudson River. 13 acres of land, modern large mansion, stables, greenhouse and sheds, fruit trees, garden, flowering shrubs and lawns. So there's another option for you. What's this? Let's see. A young man seeks, this is not real estate clearly, a young man seeks to sojourn mid-rural surroundings. A lover of the countryside, agricultural pursuits, and all that is romantic, sublime, illimitable, I don't know that word, illimitable, infinite, and eternal in all nature, of aesthetical, literary, and dramatic proclivities, wishes to pass the season of sunshine, birds, and flowers with an appreciative people mid the bracing country air, verdant fields, and forests, and with this end in view, seeks light duties about an estate manor or gentleman's country place to be rendered in return for his livelihood and needed rest and recreation, is trustworthy, is no shirk, has no mercenary views, can supply references and photographic likeness, all taking kindly to this exceptional motive, are assured of an honorable reply. Address nature lover, care of country life in America. So you wonder if this young man did find a place to go for the summer in return for his work. Okay, and that ends the real estate section. And now we go into the articles. But rather than go into the articles, I thought I would share with you my love of farm TikTok, country TikTok, if you will. So in real life, I would be terrible, I tell you, at having any sort of farm-like responsibilities. But I love watching people tend their farms on TikTok. You know, it took me a while to realize that there was a huge difference between my enjoying watching an activity and participating in it. Like there is no overlap. Like the Venn diagram doesn't even exist. It's like one circle of my enjoyment of watching, and the other circle would be my enjoyment of participating. Do not even exist in the same galaxy. So one of my favorite TikToks that I am presently watching, her account, her name is Skye, S-K-Y-E. And she, I don't know if it's her partner or husband, you know, they definitely are together, but I just don't know if they're married or not that it matters. They raise chickens, and they're vegetarian, so don't worry, they're not raising them to consume. But they do have them lay eggs, so they might, I don't know if they consume the eggs or they sell the eggs. I'm not sure of the destiny of the eggs. But they love their chickens, and all their chickens have names and personalities. And the chicken who's getting the most screen time right now is named Ethel. And Ethel went broody about 7 weeks ago. Now, again, as a suburban girl, I did not know these things, but chickens apparently go broody when they want to raise their eggs. So Ethel was going around the coop stealing everybody's eggs. And so Skye would go out and try to reach underneath Ethel, who was very hostile to this maneuver, to see how many eggs Ethel had stolen. And it might be more than a dozen, like everybody's eggs were underneath Ethel. So Skye realized Ethel really wanted to raise some chicks. So she gave Ethel a few fertilized eggs to sit on, and that didn't go great. I won't give you the details, but it was not necessarily the outcome that was desired. So Sky then took fertilized eggs and put them into an incubator so that they could hatch in the incubator, and then she gave the chicks to Ethel. So there are 4 chicks that Ethel is raising. Let's see if I can remember their names. There's Ham. Ham had a rough start. Ham's foot was a little wonky, but it's fine now. Ham's fine. Then there's Sassy. Sassy's short for Sasquatch because she is so much bigger than the others. I'm going to call them all she's for right now because it's very hard to sex a chicken, so I'm just going to call them hers right now. Then there's Edna, I think, and I think the other one's Marcella. There are also some other incubator chicks. I'm not sure who's raising them, but those are the 4 that are part of Ethel's brood. And it has been fascinating watching this. I look forward to my Ethel updates. And the chickens, of course, chickens grow very quickly, so they're so much bigger now than they were before. And there was one very dramatic time when there was a hawk, and Sky could not find the chicks anywhere, and she was heartsick. And what she realized was Ethel had gone outside to fight off the hawk. I don't know that she fought off the hawk, but, to deter the hawk. While another one of the chickens went underneath the coop with the chicks and protected them. So, thank goodness everybody was okay. And it was just amazing to see how the chickens protected the chicks, including Ethel with her bad self, making sure the hawk did not get near her babies. So I am now on the chicken side of TikTok. I'm not going to get my own chickens. Anything that requires me to participate on a daily kind of thing is not my jam right now. I'm too tired. I'm always tired. So I will not be owning chickens, but I am enjoying, again, the Venn diagrams are in completely different universes. I am enjoying chicken TikTok. There's apparently a breed of chicken. Oh my God, now I can't remember what they're called. Green something. The name Green is in their names. And apparently they are the friendliest chickens. They are like the dogs of chickens. They love to be cuddled and held. Also, Silkies are apparently very cuddly chickens. And different breeds of chickens lay different colored eggs. So, information I never wanted to know about chickens, but now I am completely enchanted. I am also on horse TikTok and mini cow TikTok. They're mini cows. Did you know that? They're still cows. They still have cow personalities. And I'm on oxen TikTok. There is this ox who is the most ginormous animal you've ever seen. His name is Tommy. And this woman and her dad raised Tommy since he was a baby. So he loves them. But Tommy's like 7 feet tall. I don't know if he's really 7 feet tall, but he's like Paul Bunyan's ox tall. And so her dad, he's a shorter guy. I don't know, maybe 5'6" or something. And Tommy and her dad have this love affair going on. So her dad brings apples. And for Tommy, they're like eating Skittles. Like you just don't eat one Skittle. You need to have a whole handful. So one apple to Tommy is like a Skittle. So her dad loves to feed Tommy apples, and Tommy loves eating them. And then her dad scratches Tommy's back with a rake. So, ox TikTok. He's enormous, but apparently very, very gentle. So again, from mini cows to Paul Bunyan-sized ox. And TikTok, my window into the world in ways that I will never physically participate, but thoroughly enjoy witnessing. So, my loves, that is your episode here. From the beauty of miracles to time traveling back to 1902 with our 2024 money, and perhaps finding a compound where we could live and enjoy, and again, since it's my fantasy, to also still have access to Trader Joe's. Because, that's a part of my joy of life. TJ's. I do have another TJ's frequent flyer, so there will be another TJ's episode coming up soon. But in the meanwhile, thank you for letting me keep you company. I wish you the sweetest of dreams. I wish you love. I wish you goodness and light. And I look forward to connecting with you again soon. Thank you.